The early summer sunlight danced on the cobblestone streets of Boston's elegant Beacon Hill neighborhood. Olivia Collins stood by the window in the spacious living room of her home, gazing at the distant flow of the Charles River. Her hands naturally rested on her swollen belly, feeling the movement of her 7-month pregnancy. Becoming pregnant at 37 was an unexpected joy. "What are you thinking about?" came her husband Elliot's voice from behind. Olivia turned and smiled. "Just how happy I am." Elliot approached Olivia and put his arm around her shoulder. Despite the demands of his successful career as an architect, he always put her first. "I was just wondering what kind of life our child will lead," Olivia said, her voice tinged with subtle anxiety. She was recalling her own childhood. Though born as the eldest daughter of the prestigious Parker family, it had hardly been a childhood filled with love. "Our child will grow up to be kind and compassionate, just like you," Elliot kissed her cheek. "With a mother who understands children's hearts, a former teacher who now writes children's books, they'll have the best environment possible." His words were warm, but a lingering shadow remained in the depths of Olivia's heart. Her eyes fell on an envelope on the table. It was an invitation to her sister Vanessa's birthday party that had arrived last week. "Are you really going?" Elliot asked, noticing her gaze. "I can't go because of my business trip, but will you be all right by yourself?" Olivia took a deep breath. "I'll go. It might be a chance for reconciliation after all this time." For nearly 10 years, Olivia had kept her distance from her family. When she decided to become a teacher, her mother Winifred, who had always favored her sister Vanessa, a success in real estate, had sneered, "A Parker daughter becoming a public school teacher." And 3 years ago, when she married Elliot, her mother and sister had attended the wedding, but their attitude had been cold. "Her husband may have money, but he's just an architect. Not one of our class," she had overheard her mother telling a society friend. Olivia moved away from the window and looked at a photo frame. It contained a picture of her father, Michael Parker. A successful investor, her father had maintained distant relationships with the family, but had shown more warmth toward her than the others. However, in the face of Winifred's strong influence, he often remained silent. "I wonder if Dad will be there," Olivia murmured. She remembered receiving a short email from her father recently, asking, "How are you?" When she had announced her pregnancy, her father had sent warm congratulations, while her mother and sister had offered only a perfunctory "congratulations." Elliot's parents, especially her father-in-law Jonathan, treated Olivia like their own daughter. "We warmly welcome our first grandchild," he had said, bringing tears to her eyes. "Liv, don't push yourself," Elliot said, rubbing her shoulder. "If you start feeling unwell at that house, come home right away." Olivia nodded. "I'll be fine. I'm not a child anymore." But her heart was far from calm. The emotional wounds inflicted by her mother Winifred and sister Vanessa throughout her life were not easily healed. Winifred was known in society as a prominent figure devoted to charitable activities, but at home, she was cruel, especially to Olivia. "Why only me?" The old question crossed her mind again. Since childhood, her mother had doted on her sister and been harsh with Olivia. When they did the same things, Vanessa was praised while Olivia was scolded. When Vanessa broke the doll her father had given her for her 7th birthday, her mother blamed Olivia. "It's because you didn't take care of it properly." Maybe things have changed this time, Olivia told herself. Perhaps her mother and sister inviting her to the party was the first step toward reconciliation. Especially now that she was carrying the first grandchild of the Parker family. The next day, Olivia got into a taxi and headed to her family home in Beacon Hill. The Parker mansion had a substantial presence that reflected Boston's history. Climbing the stone steps, Olivia rang the doorbell, feeling her heart pounding as she waited for the door to open. The door was opened by Edna, the maid who had served the Parker family for many years. When she saw Olivia, her eyes crinkled into a smile. "Miss Olivia, it's been a long time. Your belly has grown quite large." "Thank you, Edna," Olivia replied kindly. "Where is everyone?" "The guests are on the terrace in the backyard. The party started in the afternoon." Before Edna could finish, the salon door opened, and Winifred Parker appeared. Even at 67, she maintained a perfect hairstyle and wore expensive designer clothes. She looked every bit the queen of society she was known to be. "Olivia, you've finally arrived." Winifred's tone was cold, but it quickly changed to a social smile. "Come, everyone is waiting." Olivia saw Vanessa appear behind her mother. Vanessa, with her model-like appearance, was perfectly made up and dressed in a high-end brand dress. "Big sister," Vanessa exclaimed brightly. "It's been so long." She rushed to Olivia and kissed her on the cheek, but the gesture felt like an act. "Happy birthday, Vanessa." Olivia held out a wrapped gift. "Your birthday present." Vanessa lightly said thank you, but set the present aside and stared at Olivia's stomach. "You've gotten quite big. When are you due?" "In 2 months." "I see." A strange light appeared in Vanessa's eyes. "And Elliot?" "He's on a business trip. Unfortunately, he couldn't come today." "What a shame," Winifred interjected. "Well, Olivia, let's introduce you to everyone. Many society friends have come." The backyard terrace was bustling with Boston society's elite. When Olivia appeared, escorted by her mother and sister, many eyes turned toward her. "Winnie, isn't this your older daughter?" "It's been ages," called out Claudia Hendricks, a prominent society figure. "Yes," Winifred displayed a perfect smile. "This is Olivia. She quit teaching and is now writing children's books. She's about to become a mother, too." "How wonderful." Claudia turned to Olivia. "The first grandchild in the Parker family. Winnie and Michael must be thrilled." Olivia maintained her smile, but didn't miss how her mother's expression froze for a moment. "Yes, we're very happy," Winifred replied formally. As the party progressed, Olivia spoke with some old acquaintances, but most conversations remained superficial. Noticing her father's absence, she asked her mother, who replied, "He's on an urgent business trip." However, Olivia remembered an email from Martha, her father's secretary. "Michael will be in Boston all week." Her mother was lying. As time passed, the number of guests gradually decreased. By evening, only a few relatives and close friends of her mother and sister remained. The atmosphere changed. Particularly, her mother and sister's attitudes grew colder, closer to their true feelings. "Big sister, where did you buy that dress?" Vanessa's voice was loaded with sarcasm. "It's quite common." Olivia took a deep breath. "I chose it myself. Something that looks nice even when pregnant." "Yes," her mother interrupted. "You've always chosen to be ordinary." The comment was clearly sarcastic. Rather than arguing, Olivia approached her Aunt Eleanor, a relative standing at the edge of the garden. "Olivia, it's been a while," Eleanor warmly greeted her. "It's a shame your father couldn't come." "Yes, I heard he's on a business trip," Olivia said carefully. Eleanor looked around before saying quietly, "That's strange. I saw your father at the Boston Club yesterday." Just as Olivia suspected. Something was wrong. "Aunt Eleanor," Olivia asked quietly. "Don't you think there's something strange about today's party?" Eleanor smiled ambiguously. "Parker family parties are always perfect." That wasn't an answer. There was a light in Eleanor's eyes suggesting she had something she wanted to say. Olivia noticed Vanessa staring at her stomach again. The emotion in her eyes was not curiosity, but something unsettling. "Olivia, why don't you rest a bit?" Vanessa suddenly suggested. "You look pale." In fact, Olivia was feeling a bit tired. "Thank you. I'll sit down for a while." Moving to the living room, Olivia's attention was caught by a photograph on the shelf. It was a family picture, but not a recent one. It was from when she was a teenager. Then she realized there were no new family photos anywhere. No pictures from her wedding, none with Elliot. It was as if her new life had been erased from the family record. Why did they invite me? Olivia asked herself. For years, her mother and sister had shown no interest in her life. Why suddenly invite her to a birthday party now? She could see her gift box still sitting on the side table, unopened. Just as she was thinking of leaving, Winifred entered the living room. Olivia, I need to talk to you. About what? Olivia was wary. Family matters, Winifred smiled, but her eyes were cold. Would you come to the study? The relatives are waiting. Olivia stood up and followed her mother. Her father's study reflected Michael Parker's character, wall-to-wall bookshelves, an antique globe, expensive leather chairs. When Olivia was a child, this room had been her sanctuary. When her father was home, he would silently allow her into the study to read. It was the only place she could escape the cold looks from her mother and sister. But now, the atmosphere in the study was strange. In the room were her mother's sister Edith, Uncle Harold and his wife Florence, and Vanessa. All watched Olivia's entrance with tense expressions. In the corner of the room was a glass case containing her father's collection of decorative items, including various small wooden hammers. Sit down, Winifred urged Olivia. Olivia stopped in front of her father's chair and refused to sit. What's this about? She asked quietly. Where is Dad, really? Your father is on a business trip, Winifred said, but her eyes wavered. What we want to talk about today is you and your condition. Her gaze fell on Olivia's abdomen. Olivia instinctively placed both hands on her stomach. My pregnancy? Yes, Winifred said coldly. Frankly, I'm surprised. You, becoming a mother. What are you trying to say? Dear Olivia, Vanessa said in a sweet voice. We're concerned about whether you're suitable to be a mother. Olivia caught her breath. What are you talking about? You quit teaching to write children's books, but you can't really call it a success, can you? Vanessa continued. And your husband, well, he's not of our class. Elliot is a successful architect, Olivia raised her voice. And he loves me. Isn't that what matters most? Winifred laughed, a laugh devoid of any warmth. Love? Do you think children can be raised on that? Yes, I do, Olivia answered firmly. With love and respect, children grow up healthy. You just don't know it. With those words, the air in the room froze. Winifred's eyes took on a dangerous light. What do you know? Winifred's voice trembled. You know nothing. I know enough, Olivia said quietly but forcefully. What children need is not conditional love, but unconditional love. That's what I intend to give my child. Unconditional love? Vanessa scoffed. You're so naive. The world isn't that kind. Olivia had reached her limit. Why did you call me here? What's your purpose? The relatives in the room exchanged anxious glances. Aunt Edith tried to speak, but Winifred raised her hand to silence her. I wanted you to know the truth, Winifred said quietly. How unsuitable you are, how unworthy of our family line. What are you talking about? Big sister, Vanessa stood up and approached Olivia. You're not really our sister. Olivia was shocked. What do you mean? When Michael brought you home, I hadn't been born yet, Winifred said coldly. You were the child of his lover, Julia. I had to accept that child for the sake of social appearances. Olivia was speechless. Things were starting to make sense in her mind. Why her mother had treated only her coldly. Why her father had given her special attention. And now, the child in your womb. Vanessa pointed at Olivia's stomach. It has defective genes. What did you say? Olivia's voice trembled. Just as you were a foreign element that intruded into our bloodline, now your child has a foreign element too, Vanessa sneered. It's not worthy of carrying on the Parker name. Olivia trembled with anger and fear. You're insane. I'm leaving. As she tried to leave the room, Winifred's voice stopped her. I won't let you. Turning back, Olivia saw Winifred holding a small wooden hammer she had taken from the glass case. It was decorative and not sturdy enough to cause severe damage, but her intention was clear. Mom, what are you trying to do? Olivia backed away. I am not your mother. Winifred screamed. You're an intruder. A foreign element that invaded my family. And now that foreign element is trying to multiply. She raised the hammer. Intruders must disappear. Olivia froze in terror. Winifred stepped forward and swung the hammer down toward Olivia's stomach. Shock and pain coursed through Olivia's body. Stop, someone shouted. Was it Edith or Florence? Vanessa was laughing hysterically. Her laughter rang in Olivia's ears like a nightmare. Get out. There's no place here for you or that child. The room was engulfed in chaos. Uncle Harold was trying to stop Winifred. Olivia's vision began to blur with pain and fear. She collapsed to the floor, feeling consciousness slipping away. At that moment, the door to the room burst open. What are you doing? The voice belonged to Olivia's father, Michael Parker. He rushed into the room with a look of horror. Behind him were his lawyer, and surprisingly, Olivia's father-in-law, Jonathan Collins. Dad. Olivia whispered weakly. Michael rushed to Olivia and lifted her. Are you all right, Olivia? My baby, my baby. Olivia murmured through her tears. I've called an ambulance, Jonathan Collins said. It's on its way. Michael looked at Winifred with furious eyes. What have you done? Winifred replied without flinching. I was just protecting our family. That child was never part of our family. Silence. Michael's voice shook with anger. Olivia's consciousness faded more and more. In her father's arms, she completely lost consciousness. White ceiling. The smell of disinfectant. The quiet, continuous sound of medical equipment. Olivia gradually regained consciousness. When she tried to move, a dull pain shot through her abdomen. Fear overwhelmed her. Baby. As she whispered weakly, someone immediately grabbed her hand. It's all right, Liv. The baby is safe. It was Elliot's voice. Olivia opened her eyes to see her husband's tired face. His eyes were red, he had clearly been crying. Elliot. Olivia cried. The baby. According to the doctor, it's in a critical condition, but alive. Elliot squeezed her hand tightly. You're a strong mom. And our baby is strong too. Olivia slowly looked around. There were others in the hospital room, her father-in-law Jonathan Collins, her mother-in-law Catherine, and her father, Michael Parker. Dad. Michael approached his daughter's bed. His face was etched with deep sadness and guilt. Olivia, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His voice trembled. Elliot stood up and yielded his place to Michael. Michael took Olivia's hand. You've done nothing wrong, Olivia said quietly. No, I was wrong, Michael shook his head. I never told you the truth. I failed to protect you from Winifred and Vanessa. I've been a terrible father. Olivia was confused. All her memories were coming back in fragments. Her mother's words. The hammer. The revelation of the truth. Was it true? Am I? Julia's child, Michael nodded slowly. But that doesn't mean you're not my daughter. You are my daughter, Olivia. My own flesh and blood. Then, mother. Winifred. Michael took a deep breath. It's a long story. You should rest now. No, I want to know, Olivia said firmly. Don't keep hiding things. Michael's shoulders slumped in resignation. Julia and I fell in love in college. But my family didn't approve of the relationship. especially my mother. So I obeyed my family's wishes and married Winifred. But he choked on his words. A few years after the marriage, I met Julia again. Our relationship was rekindled and you were born. But during childbirth, she died. Tears fell from Michael's eyes. I brought you, a newborn, home. I confessed everything to Winifred and begged for forgiveness. She said she would accept you to maintain social appearances. But in her heart, she never accepted you. Olivia stared at her father. Many mysteries were beginning to unravel. Why her mother had treated only her coldly. Why there had always been a great wall between her and her sister. And today. I've been watching over you, Michael said. Since you married Elliot, seeing you happy made me happy too. But Winifred and Vanessa's hostility never disappeared. And when they learned of your pregnancy, they planned it. Olivia realized the horrifying truth. The birthday party was a trap. When Winifred suddenly said she wanted to invite you to Vanessa's birthday, I was suspicious, Michael continued. So I began investigating. And then he contacted me. Jonathan Collins joined the conversation. Michael was worried about your safety. We had been making preparations in secret. Preparations? Hidden cameras, Elliot explained. At Jonathan's suggestion, we installed them at the party venue. Just in case something happened. Olivia gasped. So that moment. It's all recorded, Jonathan said with a grim expression. It's already been submitted to the police as evidence. Winifred and Vanessa have been arrested for assault. I never thought it would come to this, Michael said painfully. I never imagined they would go this far. I should have acted sooner. I should have warned you before the party. Olivia looked at her father. His eyes reflected genuine sadness and regret. Please forgive me for not telling you the truth for so long, Michael squeezed his daughter's hand. I was a coward. Family appearances, social status, the company's reputation. I prioritized such things and failed to protect you, the most important person. The room fell silent. Elliot placed his hand on Olivia's shoulder, supporting her. There's one more thing you should know, Michael said quietly. Winifred and Vanessa trying to hurt you wasn't just out of hatred. They were after the inheritance. Inheritance? I had a medical checkup a year ago. The results weren't good, Michael smiled bitterly. Terminal pancreatic cancer. According to the doctors, I only have about 6 months left. Olivia was shocked, speechless. Dad. I drafted a new will, Michael continued. I decided to leave the controlling interest in the company and most of my assets to you and your child. I intended to leave Winifred and Vanessa only the minimum living expenses. I helped with the creation of that will, Jonathan added. And somehow, Winifred and Vanessa found out about it. Everything connected. The invitation. The birthday party. The obsession with the baby. I can't believe it. Olivia murmured. They are now facing legal consequences, Elliot said in a stern tone. I will do everything in my power to protect my wife and child. A doctor entered and checked on Olivia. The baby's heartbeat is stable, he said. But complete bed rest is necessary. For at least a few weeks. Olivia placed her hand on her stomach. Thank you, doctor. After the doctor left, Michael kissed his daughter's forehead. I won't leave you alone anymore. From now on, I want to be involved in your life and my grandchild's life as a real father. Olivia nodded through her tears. It was a moment when she finally received the father's love she had sought for so long. The season was changing to spring. In the solemn courtroom of the Boston Municipal Court, the verdict was delivered. The defendants Winifred Parker and Vanessa Parker are sentenced to 5 years imprisonment each for assault and endangering a fetus. The judge's voice echoed. Olivia squeezed Elliot's hand. Next to her sat her father Michael. His face was thin, showing the progression of his illness, but his eyes held a light of determination. Furthermore, the defendants are ordered to pay a total of $2 million in compensation to the victim, Olivia Collins, for mental suffering and physical injury. The judge continued, considering the evidence of long-term domestic abuse and psychological violence, the defendants are permanently prohibited from approaching the victim. A murmur arose in the courtroom. Winifred's expression didn't change, but Vanessa broke down in tears. The two were escorted out by guards. In the final moment, Vanessa looked back at Olivia. In her eyes was not hatred, but some other emotion, something like remorse. Outside the courthouse, Olivia took a deep breath. The cold spring wind caressed her cheek. "It's over," she said quietly. "This is just the beginning." Elliot put his arm around her shoulder. A month later, a special day arrived at Olivia and Elliot's home. Happy smiles filled the living room, Olivia's father Michael, Elliot's parents Jonathan and Catherine, and close friends. Sitting on the sofa, Olivia held her newborn daughter in her arms. Little Emma Julia Collins looked at the world with large eyes that resembled her mother's. "She's beautiful," Michael peered at his granddaughter's face. The illness had weakened him further, but at this moment, pure joy shone on his face. "She looks just like your mother." "Tell me more about Julia," Olivia said gently. Michael smiled. "She was strong, kind, and incredibly intelligent. Just like you." The room was bathed in warm light. This new family symbolized a true bond that went beyond blood ties. At the same time, at the state women's prison, Winifred and Vanessa were housed in separate cells. Initially supporting each other, cracks began to form in their relationship as time passed. "You ruined everything," Winifred blamed Vanessa during a visitation. "Because your plan failed, we lost everything." "My plan?" Vanessa argued. "Everything is because of your obsession and hatred, Mom. You taught me that Olivia wasn't family. But in truth, you were the one who destroyed the family." Their relationship was irreparably damaged. Through the trial, the Parker family had lost most of their property and social standing. After their release, all that awaited them was an impoverished life. Vanessa returned to her cell and gazed out the window at the outside world. For the first time, she was beginning to understand the weight of her actions. But regret came too late. In the early summer sunlight, Olivia talked with her father in the garden while holding Emma. Michael's condition was rapidly deteriorating, but he was making precious use of his remaining time. "Let's give this child the boundless love I couldn't protect," Michael said, holding his granddaughter's tiny hand. That evening, at a family celebration, Olivia spoke quietly. "True family is bound by love, not blood," she said, holding Emma. "The bonds we've built are the most precious things." The room was filled with happiness. Olivia had finally found the true family she had been seeking for so long.